Which ceramic coating should I choose?
Hi, I'm Yvan.
I'm Nick.
And this is a DIY Detail Podcast. Today we're going to dive into, what should I get? 3, 5, 8, stack, hydro light. Which one is best for you?
Ivan, I think it's worth us really going back to the origin, the genesis of DIY Detail, when we came out with a amazing coating that nobody bought, that had no age statement on it. We just called it ceramic coating.
Right, we called it ceramic coating. It was, roughly a 3 to 5 year coating, and we didn't put a number on it. And unfortunately, in this industry, people put a lot of weight into that number. But when we were coming out with our second wave of coatings, and the reason we started off with that coating, it was an existing formula, and it was a sort of a stopgap measure until we had the 3, 5, and 8.
But it was a really good coating.
Oh, definitely. Really good coating. But on the other hand, since it didn't have a number on it, people just shied away from it. Price was good. Everything was good about it, but we didn't put a number on the bottle. And had we put a number on the bottle, it probably would have sold 3-4 times as much. That being said, we corrected that a little bit with our second wave of coatings, which are our 3-year, 5-year, and our 8-year coatings.
Now, what I want to do with this podcast is really help people sift through it all, because we have 3, we have 5, we have 8. We also have the stack, which is a wildly popular combination where you apply the 8-year and then the 3-year. But
we also have the 5-3 stack too.
We also have the 5-3 stack, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing there is you apply the 8-year, then you have to wait 2 hours minimum. And then maximum of 8 hours, and then you apply the 3-year, right? Or you can start with the 5-year, wait 2 hours, no longer than 8 hours, and then apply the 3-year. And it's just unbelievable slickness, gloss, water beating. And then we come out with C6 Hydro Light. And at this point, it's like, people message me all the time and they're like, I don't know which coating to choose, right? And I'm like, Ivan, this is when I know it's time to do a podcast. Like, let's help explain our coatings once and for all and help people make up their own minds on what they want to choose. There's different cars, there's RVs, there's boats, there's classics, there's new, there's mommy vans, there's supercars, there's budget, right? So I want to help people understand what our coatings are, and then they can kind of figure out, okay, now I know more, and I'd like to make an informed decision.
So let's start with the 3, 5, and 8.
Okay.
We have a previous video explaining them, and we'll Nick will link it down below. But basically, the numbers are a little irrelevant in one sense, but very relevant in another. Meaning that well-maintained, and maintaining doesn't mean you have to put a topper on it every time you wash it. Maintaining just means keep the contamination off of it. When it's contaminated, decontaminate it, and wash it regularly. Contamination is what kills coatings, primarily. Secondly, fracturing. Now, with all our coatings, be it the DIY or the C6 coating, we have silicon nitride in them. And silicon nitride is one of the ingredients that helps resist fracturing. And fracturing is very easy to understand. Imagine the desert floor. It rains in the desert floor. It's perfectly smooth. That's a freshly applied coating. Over time, it starts to crack, and those cracks are fracturing. And the coating is still on the surface, but because of the fracturing, it loses hydrophobics. And unfortunately, that's how people gauge the performance of a coating, the hydrophobics of it. But there's a lot of other things going on with the coating. So our coatings are polysiloxane, silicon carbide, silicon dioxide, and silicon nitride. They all have their place in the formula, and depending on the formula, sometimes there's more silicon carbide, some there's more silicon nitride, some there is more silicon dioxide. Depends on what you're wanting. Now, the 3-year, very popular coating for us. It's not our highest seller though, but it is a very popular coating, and it has one additional thing, and that's graphene. And graphene only has one purpose in a coating. That is water spot resistance. It's not water spot proof, never has been, never will be, but it's water spot resistance. So that water spot resistance is something that if you can't help but park beside a sprinkler because that's your assigned parking spot where you live, you need that. If you have heavy minerals in the air and a lot of stuff going on, industrially around you, then the 3-year might be a good choice for you. The other aspect of the 3-year is it's inexpensive. It's our least expensive coating. So that has an attraction. And Some people just like polishing and coating their car every year or every 2 years, no matter how long the coating lasts. So that's a good choice for you. Next, we have the 5-year. And this is not the name we gave it, but it's the name that you guys gave it. And that is the King of Gloss. And it is an extremely glossy coating. So if you want a glossy coating, that's the one to go for. The 5-year will give you that gloss. It will give you, again, the chemical resistance, all that, not the water spot resistance as the graphene has, because graphene over time wears off, or not wears off. It's still in the formula, but it fractures as well. And we all have that image that we've seen, marketing graphene and all sorts of different things, not only detailing, but this little matrix that's over a football field, and we're hand applying a coating. That little matrix, we're never getting it perfect like you see in the marketing images. What we are doing though is getting little clumps here and there with 10 or 12 molecules here and 15 and 20 there and 5 or 6 there. Those molecules together form a little matrix of graphene, and there's another island beside it, another island beside it. Those islands are close enough that the minerals from the water spot can't bridge them.
And one thought as I edit this video, Ivan, the B-roll you see is going to be actually from the DIY Detail Facebook page. So what we've done is we've asked people, put your coated vehicles in the comments, and we're going to include them as B-roll. So as you see these photos that I'm putting on, these are actually viewer submissions. So a lot of these might not be professionals, but these are just viewers submitting. So see if you can tell the difference. I think they all look amazing. But as you talk about the 3-year, we're putting photos of 3-year. And so just if folks are wondering what they're seeing, I'm just giving you a sense of the visuals here. So you were talking about the 3-year, then we transitioned to the, I call it the Gloss Boss.
Yeah, the Gloss Boss. But basically the 3-year, those little islands of graphene, the graphene itself, those molecules that are stuck together, even though we have silicon nitride in the formulation, they're going to start coming apart and they're going to start fracturing. And that's where after 3 years or so, you lose the benefit of the graphene. That's why we call it a 3-year coating. It might last longer than that. If you maintained it properly, you can actually get the lifetime of a car out of just about any coating when they're maintained properly. But the one characteristic you bought it for was that water spot resistance. After 3 years or so, that's gone.
Yep.
Now, the 5-year, that high gloss that it gives you, same thing. After a certain amount of time, no matter how careful you are washing, that gloss is going to diminish. Then we have our 8-year coating. And the reason we put the number 8 on it is very simple. A lot of people have a 7-year coating. A lot of people have a 9-year coating and a 10-year coating. We just said 8. It's going to, again, well maintained. It will outlast that. But the 8-year coating is the one that has the most chemical resistance. Also, from anecdotal evidence, not our own, but a lot of people say it's our easiest coating to apply.
Isn't that strange? That people think,
it's also our best seller. So take that for what it's worth. The other aspect of the 8-year, if you're doing something fiberglass, so a boat, an RV, that's the one you want to use, because the 8-year has some different wetting agents to it that help it in being easier to apply, but at the same time help it dive a little deeper into the coating. Now, hold off to the end, stick around. At the end, I'm going to explain some other technologies that are connected to the coatings that are necessary, that are there, like the app, like the panel prep, and like the the aftercare products. But continuing on, then we have the 5-3 stack. Now you get the gloss of the 5-year, and you get sort of a velvety, smooth finish to it. It's really, when you touch a stacked vehicle, it's a feeling you've never felt before with a coating.
And as a detailer, we're all armchair chemists, right?
Yeah.
And we have our preferences, and of course those are going to heavily influence what we do and how we feel.
Yeah.
And speaking for detailers, it's just like if I put 2 layers on, it's got to be better than 1, right? And we never say put 2 of the same on, because that's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain that. But having 2 layers makes me feel better. And so the fact that we endorse an 8-3 stack or a 5-3 stack, I feel like, well, if I messed up the first layer, at least I'm getting something on. So there's redundancy built into it. And I know that's not the only reason or whatever, but for me, I like the idea of putting 2 layers on.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, I used to apply like 5 layers for a lifetime coating with another brand.
Yeah, exactly. No, so layering the same thing, not a good idea. You're just wasting your time. But what's happening with the 5-3 or 8-3 stack, and the reason we have that 2 to 8 hour window, and that window is very important. 2 hours is enough for the base coating, so the 8 or the 5, to have set up enough that you're not going to remove it. But the surface is still open. The surface is still malleable, if I can put it that way. Then when we put the 3-year into it, not on top of it, we're putting it on top, but it's actually going into that coating. And it's combining to do some really interesting things. And with the 5-3 stack, you get that slickness and that gloss that are, again, the feeling of the slickness on the 5-3 stack, it's hard to explain until you've experienced it.
You think more so than the 8-3 stack?
Yeah, it's just a touch. Now, the 8-3 stack, it's our most popular stack. And on the website, we've got the stack. You can buy a kit. So save a little bit of money there. But the 8-3 stack, what it really differentiates it from most coatings is the look. People have described it as a warm, waxy type look almost. The vehicle seems to glow. When I had it on my Veloster before the Veloster got taken out by a Ford Flex, people remarked often that your car seems to glow. And that's exactly what the 5-3 or the 8-3 stack does. It gives you that warmth, that depth, that glow that you're not going to see with another coating.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would say you're used to almost a colder look with coatings, almost a glassier look, right? And that's something that we're kind of socialized into. If you've been into detailing the last few years, that's more of the look now, is that sort of glassy coating look. Unless you are a little bit older and you grew up in the age of waxes, a lot of people are just getting into detailing. So you could be older, but I'm talking about growing up in detailing, like really getting into it now. So formative years, whatever those were for you. It's been coatings for a while now, but I do know that we've done this stack on a few vehicles in the shop and done videos on them, and that's how I would describe it. Is it kind of glowed? It was a warmer, the opposite of cold. It's like a warmer, waxier look.
Right. So if you're the type of person that misses the look of a wax but wants the functionality of a coating, the chemical resistance and all that fun stuff, the 8-3 stack is for you. Now, the new kid on the block, C6 Hydro Light. C6 Hydro Light, or the C6 ceramic coatings, first of all, they're professional, like all the DIY detail coatings, I'll put them up against any professional brand. They're that good. But the C6 line of coatings is on another level completely. One of the C6 installers described it as DIY coatings are like the Mercedes-Benz of coatings. C6, it's the Formula One team of Mercedes-Benz. The technology is way, way beyond what anybody else has. So it's that super, super high tech. And that high tech from the Formula One team eventually makes its way down to the regular everyday Mercedes S-Class. So that's what we have with that. And the reason we have C6 Hydro Light is there's a lot of prosumers out there, you guys, the consumers that are spectacular detailers. And dare I say it, and some professionals won't like this, there's a lot of prosumers that are actually better detailers technically than a lot of pro detailers. So
they may, because they may take longer from passion, but they get better results. Would you say? Yeah. Or you think they're more efficient? I feel like efficiency and results are different it depends on what you're measuring.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of consumers out there that are amazing at applying coatings and detailing cars.
Yeah, their results are fantastic.
Yeah, that's why we're offering C6 Hydro Light. Now, the light portion of C6 Hydro Light is we've reduced a bit of the detonated nanodiamonds. That reduces the cost because they are extremely expensive. And the carrier solvents are a little different. So you're going to get, we'll say 90 to 95% of the pro coating with the Hydro Light. And yes, there's a cost to it. And cost is something that we try to avoid. It's actually our least profitable coating. But the reason for that is we wanted to give that pro level coating to the consumer. And that's what you have with C6 Hydro Light. Now, C6 Hydro Light, the hydrophobics on it have been described by many people as insane. Never seen this before. It's crazy. It's wild. The water just doesn't want to stay on the panel.
That is crazy.
One of our collaborators here that we like a lot, Cars with Keeve. If you go to his website or go to his YouTube channel, and Nick, you can put the link down below. When he installed the C6 Hydro Light, he waited a few hours and put a garden hose to it. And that garden hose had, I forget how many gallons per minute. It's like 5 gallons per minute.
I've never seen hydrophobics like this before.
And the water just, it's as if it didn't almost touch the panel. It just fell right off. And you could see it in his face. You could see the sound of his reaction. It's like, oh, wow. This, So he's never seen anything like this before. So that is C6 Hydro Light. C6 Hydro Light, we've termed it a 6-year coating. Again, if you maintain it properly, it's going to last much, much longer than that. If you abuse it, yeah, it might not last the 6 years. So that's something that we need to be very cautious of. When we're giving these numbers, that's ideal conditions. And ideal conditions to us doesn't mean a garage queen that only sees the street once a month. It just means you wash your car once a week, maybe every 2 weeks at most. You don't take it through a brush car wash, and you when it's contaminated, you decontaminate, and that includes a mechanical and chemical decontamination. A chemical decontamination isn't enough, and a mechanical decontamination isn't enough. And we've got a bunch of videos on decontaminating your coated car. It's super easy to do. It's not a long, 5-day long process. It's a half hour, maybe an hour at the most, depending how organized you are. So it's not a very difficult thing to do.
And FOMO is a real thing. And so, a year ago, our 8-year was the creme de la creme, or the stack, right? And then now there's C6 Hydro Light. What is somebody supposed to choose if they're not sure what the difference is still? If they're like, well, I want the chemical resistance, but like a year ago, the 8-year was still amazing and it's still great hydrophobics. Like, yeah, it gets a little confusing. We're talking about the high level options here. We really respect people's, trust in us. And I just want to help them determine the best coating, Ivan, if they're looking for like the best, right?
So this is a really bad cop-out answer, but if you've never done a coating before, they all work the same. They're all going to give you what you're looking for. But that being said, once you get more into the hobby and you get more into detailing a little bit, you'll see the differences and you'll feel the differences. Totally. And you'll want something different. And a lot of people, like I said, if they want gloss, they're going to go for the 5-year. If they're the mommy wagon, as you put it, the vehicle that sits outside, rarely gets washed, isn't well maintained, but you want that chemical resistance because it does get bird crap on it and it does get insects, and then go for the 8-year. But if you're all about hydrophobics, you foam the soap on the vehicle and even the soap won't stick to it, that's Hydro Light.
And why should somebody want hydrophobics? So I know it looks cool, right? But I'm just let's drill down a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much that's it. No, hydrophobics also helps in self-cleaning. So the C6 Hydro Light, because it literally the water comes off. When it rains, it self-cleans for all intents and purposes. And we'll insert a picture here. I've got a little Triumph TR7, and it has a molding under the doors. That molding under the doors makes it so that when it rains, the water can't flush off that lower panel. And yesterday we had a torrential rainstorm. It's parked on gravel. And you'll see the top half of it looks perfectly clean, and it is. The bottom half of it is covered in mud. And it's not mud, that's just from the gravel bouncing up. So the rain hitting the gravel, because it was a very hard rainstorm, hitting the gravel, bounces the dirt up onto the vehicle. But because of that little molding that's there that stops the water from flowing down the panel, it's super clean until it hits that molding, and then after that, it gets dirty. And that is the hydrophobics of C6 Hydro Light. So hydrophobics are a thing. They help, and they also make cleaning easier. They make drying easier. So there are advantages to hydrophobics. There are some disadvantages as well. One of the big disadvantages is water spots. Yeah. And water spots are the bane of waxes, sealants, coatings, you name it. If you wash your vehicle regularly, water spots won't have time to have dived in or, attach themselves to your paint. They'll wash away. And a lot of people are afraid that, one little drop of water, no, rain should not cause water spots. If rain is causing water spots, you might want to move away from there. That means there's something in the rain or in the air that's not good for you. But that being said, hydrophobics are fun, first of all. Hydrophobics are functional to an extent, but can harm you to another. So that's why we want hydrophobics.
Is there a coating you'd recommend more for a classic car, like of all of them in our range?
So a classic car, the 8.3 stack, because with a classic car, we're looking for that glow. So if it's a classic car, when it was first on the road, we had waxes on it, and waxes provided that glow, that that really rich look to the paint. And a lot of classics, especially if they have the original paint, there's no metallics in it, there's no clear coat, so having that little additional glow is going to help with those.
Let's imagine someone from a magazine or like an online review is like reviewing the coatings, best for a show car, best for a classic, best for the mommy van. Now now let's go for the best coating for the buck. Like, you want the most performance and coating you can get for the least amount of money. This is what people care about. Everyone watches their money like a hawk, Yvan. Yeah. What is that for them?
Oh, that's a 3-year coating. For $60 at the time of this recording, if you're careful, if you follow our instructions, you get 2 cars out of it. That's $30 for coating a car. Now, if you've got an F350 long box 4-door, you might not get 2 of those. You'll just make it through that F350 and have a little left over. But for the average sedan, the average little SUV, you're going to get 2 of those. So that's great bang for the buck. And you're going to get the protection.
Yeah, what if you're a professional selling a 3-year coating and your cost is $30 a vehicle?
Yeah.
Like, that's a no-brainer, because you could make a lot of money off that bottle for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And all our coatings, you should be able to get 2 standard size or small size sedans or SUVs out of them. Now, there's 2 coatings we didn't mention that we have in our line. One is our metal coating. Now, our metal coating has a number of applications. One that's very popular as of late is the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck needs a coating, trust me. The other aspect of...
Then you can coat the wrap.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, great thing there. All our coatings can go on wrap, PPF, and matte vehicles. Now, the 5.3 stack, maybe not on a matte vehicle if you want to keep that matte look. It's going to gloss it up a little bit. But other than that, they can all go on matte, they can all go on wrap, and they can all go on PPF. So there's no need to have a specific thing there. And the other coating that people think we're missing is a wheel coating. We don't have a wheel coating, and unless technology really changes, we probably never will have a wheel coating. Because on a wheel, you're coating clear coat. And your wheel is actually not in that harsh of an environment compared to the rest of your vehicle. And no, your wheel does not get hot enough to damage coatings. Tires start to melt at 365 degrees Fahrenheit. Any coating that respects itself doesn't even start to degrade till you hit 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. What happens with wheels to diminish hydrophobics is actually mineral content. You're driving down the road, rainy day, your wheel is just covered in a mist of water. But yes, your wheel is warmer, so it's evaporating that water. And by evaporating that water, it's leaving minerals on the surface. One thing that people never do to their wheels is take our water spot remover to them. And when you do, you'll see that, oh, wait, I thought the coating was dead. It's still here. It's still doing its job. So that's why we don't have a wheel coating. The environment right behind the wheel, so the lower fender and the rear bumper right behind the wheel, that's a very harsh environment compared to what the wheel goes through. So don't worry about a wheel coating. But we have our metal coating, and our metal coating is for raw, uncoated metals, meaning they don't have a clear coat on them. And not the plastic chrome trim that we see today on a lot of vehicles, but actual chrome. So if you have a motorcycle, if you have a classic car with lots of chrome on it, then our metal coating is really good. If you have polished aluminum, be it a semi truck, be it on a classic vehicle, you've got the Krager SSs or centerline wheels, then you'll want the the metal coating for those. The metal coating also on a lot of classic cars, they have stainless steel trim. Again, it does a great job. And you can actually put our regular paint coatings on top of the metal coating, but you need that metal coating as a base. So if you're doing a classic car with lots of chrome and trim and all that fun stuff on it, or a boat for that matter, then put the metal coating down first, let it sit for a couple days, then put the other coating on. You need to let it cure first though. The other coating that we have that we just came out with is our plastic restore and protect. And that is actually a true unadulterated coating, but it has a lot of different things going for it. Now, you can put our coatings on new plastic if you want. They'll do a great job. Your plastic is faded a little bit. It's not exactly new anymore. That's where the restore and protect comes in. And it has a couple things going for it. First of all, it has a black dye. So no matter what you do, your trim's going to look better. Right. But it also has very, very aggressive wetting agents. And those aggressive wetting agents are basically what draws the coating and the dye into the plastic deeper, meaning it's going to last longer. And then you're leaving a ceramic coating behind that's going to protect from UV, that's going to protect from bird bombs, that's going to protect from all of that fun or unfun stuff. So it's going to last a long time, again, if well maintained.
You forgot one coating, Ivan.
And that is?
Our glass coating.
Yeah, our glass coating. So our glass, because we just introduced it last week, but our the C6 Hydro glass coating, again, it was intended and designed as a pro coating, but when it came down to it, it's just so easy to use. We decided, let's not reserve it for professionals. Now, right. A little goes a long way. It's a 30 milliliter bottle. You're going to be coating all your friends and family's windshields with it if you buy a bottle, because unfortunately it only lasts about a year inside the bottle. So you're not going to coat your windshield every month. So
you could if you want, but it would be unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary. But the C6 Hydro Glass, so glass is a very different substrate, and all the other coatings you can put on your windows. They're going to do a great job on your windows, but they won't last as long. And the reason they don't last as long, they're not designed to attach themselves to glass. They'll do a good job on glass. Those ones you might be doing every month. But the C6 Hydro Glass is designed to bond to the glass. And in doing so, has a very high content of SiO2. SiO2 is glass. That's what it is. So it has a very high content of that, and it has a lot of polysilazane. The polysilazane helps reduce, or is the most friction-proof aspect of a coating. So,
and we know that our friction and abrasion is going to be a big deal with the wiper blades.
Yeah, definitely. That is the big killer of any coating on glass is your windshield wipers. So when it starts to rain, take your windshield washers, just wash the windshield. Give it a wipe or two with the windshield wipers. Now you've taken the road film off of, or the traffic film off of that glass, exposing the coating. Now you probably won't need to use the wipers anymore. So there's that. Well, our interior ceramic. How could I forget that? So the interior ceramic, it's designed for everything on your interior. You have carpet, you have cloth, you have old school velour seats. Good for those. You have leather, you have vinyl, you have plastic. Everything on your interior, including the navigation screen, your instruments, everything but the interior glass you're going to be doing with the interior ceramic. Now, we've recently revamped the formula, and that revamping of the formula is actually because of laws that are coming into play in 2025. But in testing, we found out that, hey, the new formula is better than the old formula. The old formula was great. If you still have that, don't go out and buy a new bottle. It's still great. But the new formula is just a little bit better. So why wait till we have to release it, as opposed to we have something better, let's release it now.
So if you have a brand new car and you're like me, you're probably going to get the glass coating, the trim coating, the hydrolite, the interior ceramic. But the reality is you could mix and match, and these are all excellent options. Yeah. There's nuance in between it. And I like the way you said it. It's like when you get into beer or coffee or anything, at first you're never going to notice the nuances of all the taste, but when you go down the rabbit hole, you start to see the subtleties and the variables, and you're like, now I want the this and the that. And so if any of this resonates with you, you just can't go wrong with any of these coatings. But just trust us that there are differences, and we hope that you enjoy, and we appreciate your trust, because we wouldn't be here without you.
Now, aftercare. You
Big
need
deal.
to wash it. Yeah,
Yep.
you need to wash it, and you need to decontaminate as necessary. But none of our coatings, we require you to put a topper on. And there are some coating manufacturers out there that they give a 5-year warranty or a 10-year warranty. And by the way, we don't give any warranties. But because warranties in the coating industry are a little shady at best. That being said, we don't say you have to put a topper on. There are some companies that they'll say it's a lifetime coating as long as you put a topper on it at least once a year. It's the topper doing the work. So we have the coating doing the work, and we have 3 spectacular products to help you with that. One of them is Quick Beads, and Quick Beads, I like to call it our wheel coating in a sense, because it's just so easy to use on wheels. And but if you're rinsing your vehicle, you need some form of drying aid. Now, for drying aids, we actually have 5 drying aids at the moment. We have rinseless wash, which in itself is a drying aid. So if you're using a rinseless wash to clean your car, you don't need anything else to dry it with. And drying aids are a form of lubrication that just helps prevent your towel from marring the surface. And it also does make it a lot easier to wipe off. Next, we have our waterless wash. It can be used as a drying aid as well. Not a lot of people use it. It's a little expensive for that purpose, so we'll set that one aside.
But it's also a very reasonably priced product, so it's nice to just have. And yeah, it's nice to have a bottle of waterless wash just for a pinch. Just trust me on this one. It's the least expensive of all these options for the 16-ounce bottle. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but nonetheless, for that, there are better options, but it does work great as a drying aid.
In a pinch, it's a great drying aid, yeah.
Yeah, next, if you're using the foam cannon, if you're rinsing the car off and you're just leaving water on, Quick Beads. Quick Beads works wonderfully well with a hose. That's how it's designed to be used. You spray a little on the surface, you spread it out using the hose, and voila, you have protection. And that protection is actually good standalone protection. You've got 4 to 10 months, depending on how the vehicle is driven, how it's kept, all that fun stuff. But you've got some durable ceramic protection going on with Quick Beads. Then, this is Nick's best smelling product, according to him, is ceramic gloss.
Everyone loves ceramic gloss smell. Comment down below if you're listening to the podcast. Just let us know what you think of the smell of ceramic gloss, because I'm not alone.
Many people love ceramic gloss, the fragrance of ceramic gloss, as they dislike the fragrance of an iron remover. But
I also like the smell of iron remover, so I'm crazy.
Yeah, but anyways, the ceramic gloss is more of a traditional drying aid in the sense that you spray it on, you wipe it off. And we're going to get these comments, so we might as well answer them now. You can actually use Quick Beads that way if you want to. Not a lot of people do, but you can. It's not the most effective use of it, but it can be used that way.
I tried it the other day because I know we tried this early on, testing and everything, and I didn't like Quick Beads as much. I think I overused it. Big surprise. I sprayed it all over, and then I sprayed the whole car down, and then it got a little streaky on me. So, it can be used as a spray and wipe drying aid, but use it as the spray and rinse. I think it's better that way.
Definitely. That's how it's designed, but it can be used the other way.
Yep.
Then we have the new kid on the block, C6 Mist. Now, C6 Mist has a bit of SiO2 in it, has a few other polymers in it, but it's not designed for protection. C6 Mist is taking into account that you already have a ceramic coating on your car. The one thing that C6 Mist will not do is change the characteristics of your coating for worse. Depending on the coating you have on your vehicle, we'll just say another brand here, C6 Mist might actually improve it, but it's not going to degrade the beading of any coating. It's only going to improve it. And C6 Mist is designed 100% as a drying lubricant and as a drying aid. It is not designed for long-term protection. It is not designed to put it on your car and 6 months later it's still going to bead even if you had nothing else on your car. No, that is not C6 Mist. C6 Mist is to be used every time you wash your car, so it's not going to layer and stack on itself. And it's designed as the best drying aid we could possibly come up with. And you can have a flooded panel, you spray it on, and the water just gathers up into beads and rolls off the panel. It is really spectacular that way. The other thing
Mist is phenomenal. I have Hydrolite and C6 Mist on my car, and I've never seen water beads like this.
Yeah,
never.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
The other thing that Mist has in it is propanol, which is a form of alcohol. That helps dry the surface. So it actually, not only is it a drying lubricant, but it actually does help dry. It makes your drying towel go further. It expels the liquid faster off the vehicle. So that's what C6 Mist is. Also, smells really nice. Gives a little more slickness to your paint as you're drying, but that's it. It is not a long-term protection. So people have asked, well, you've got ceramic gloss, you have quick beads, why do you have C6 Mist? C6 Mist is for that person that wants to keep the characteristics of their coating. And your coating is the one providing the protection. You shouldn't need a product on top of it providing more protection. So your coating is doing the work. This is just helping a little bit. And C6 Mist has one other little trick up its sleeve. You can use it like quick beads. So you can use it as a spray and wipe, or you can use it as a rinse or a water activated product. It works well both ways. So you don't need to buy a bottle of quick beads for your wheels if you have Mist and your grills and things like that.
Mist sold out when we first came out with it for our birthday podcast, Ivan. I think at the time of this recording, it's still out of stock. I know when
it's supposed to be back this week. We're recording this on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday today?
It's Tuesday, and this will go live on Friday. So I think if it's not back in stock as of today, it should be back in soon. Of course, you could be listening to this in 2026. So
hopefully by then our stocking issues are way, way behind us. Exactly. But that being said, C6 sold out immediately. Those who have tried it are wanting to buy more. And yes, it's a little more expensive than ceramic gloss. It's a little more expensive than quick beads, because of the technology that's in it. There's a little more going on with C6 Mist, so our cost is higher. Naturally, we unfortunately have to pass that on. We're not a nonprofit organization. So for us to be able to be here, to be able to do all this educational content, to be able to support our staff and and help our clients out, we need to be profitable. And if you're a professional detailer, this is something I've been telling professional detailers for 40 years. If you're not profitable, you're not providing good customer service, because you won't be there to serve your customers when they need you again if you didn't make profits the first time you served your customer.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of C6 Mist, I know we just went on a long discussion about it, but if folks are still intrigued, they want to know more about it, there's an install video, Ivan, that I think they could click on
somewhere around
right here.